On the front drive shaft for the four-wheel drive going to the transfer case, this flange here has Allen bolts in it, and those are number 6. We're going to go ahead and use our Allen swivel extension and our impact to remove all of these. You can just manually grab that drive shaft and rotate that so you have access to all of these. Once this is removed, we're going to move to the forward part of the drive shaft and do the same up there. Now we're going to go ahead and use a dead blow hammer just to try and work this flange free. Rotate this unit. Now we're going to try and compress this part of the drive shaft on itself. Now the interior cap for this drive shaft did pop off. It's in the front part of the drive shaft yoke. We're going to use a screwdriver just to reach in there and pull that back out. With this unit, compress as much as we can get it. It does have a lot of play. We're now going to move to the back section here and loosen that one. We're going to go ahead and use a punch and a hammer. There's a small ridge on the inside of the drive shaft unit here. We're going to go ahead and tap on that to try and work that out. Go ahead and rotate that. And we're going to work our way around. So now that we have that loose, we want to go ahead and rotate this a little bit more. Now we're going to bring it up. I'm going to try and work the front drive shaft out. I have to use the pry bar on this side as well. We'll go ahead and remove that drive shaft. Now, upon installation of the front drive shaft, there are shorter bolts and longer bolts. The shorter ones go on the rearward side going into the transfer case. The longer bolts go into the front side going into the front differential. I'm going to bring the rearward side up. We need to adjust it so we can get the front part of the drive shaft up and in. Now you want to pay attention to the placement of the bolt holes. So before you push this in, I want to make sure that we can go ahead and get a couple of the bolts started here. So we're just going to push those in. By holding that front yoke and turning the drive shaft, and the bolt will slide into place. I'm going to try and catch a few threads on that. Once we have a couple of these started, we're going to go ahead and get the remainder of the bolts started on the front flange. I'm going to go ahead and just finish tightening these down. Let's move on to the rear. I'm going to go ahead and try and repeat the same process. You're going to line up the flange bolt holes. I'm going to work a couple bolts into it. And slowly move the drive shaft back and forth so you can feel them catching on the holes, and try and get the bolt started. Now with those two bolts snugged up, we have now pulled the drive shaft into the yoke evenly. Now we're going to go to the other bolts and snug those down. Now we're going to go around and we're going to torque all of these down to 22 foot-pounds. You can see as we try to turn it, it's going to spin the drive shaft. So we're going to use a pry bar. We're just going to put it between the bolt and the flange here just to keep it from spinning. And we'll repeat this for all of the bolts. So normally we would use a pry bar for something like this. We're going to use a screwdriver at this point because it has a thinner tip on it. We can get it between the bolt and the flange to go ahead and hold that in place from keeping it from spinning while we tighten the front bolts. And that's it. We have all the bolts torqued to 22 foot-pounds. And the flanges are in evenly on both sides.